And thank you for waking up with United Way this morning. I'm Efrat Pfefferman. I'm the Executive Director of United Way of Monroe County, and here to welcome you today. Wake Up is a monthly breakfast series we launched in partnership with our friends at IU PACE, Political and Civic Engagement Program, in which we dive deeper into different topics that affect our neighbors and our community each second Thursday of the month at 8 a.m. right here on Zoom. This series would not be possible without the support of our sponsors. We'd like to give a big thank you to Bloomington Township, to the IU Credit Union, to the Community Foundation of Bloomington, Monroe County, to Old National Bank, and to Duke Energy. So please help me by thanking these sponsors for supporting these important conversations in our community. As some of you may know, United Way is working with our partners at the Community Foundation and with the support of local governments, including the city, county, Bloomington, and Perry townships, to convene stakeholders in the community around housing insecurity and homelessness so that we may update the 2014 Heading Home Plan for 2021 and beyond, and then fully support the strategies within that plan, which aim to make homelessness rare, brief, and non-repeating for individuals and families in our region. I want to personally take a moment to acknowledge Harry, who hopefully will be joining us, and his friends of the Bloomington Homeless Coalition, as well as, of course, all our panelists and partners for their partnership, which will help ensure that the voices of those with lived experience are lifted and heard and valued in that process. I'd also like to thank two of United Way's member agencies, which helped us put on today's discussion, New Hope for Families and Beacon Inc. We're grateful for you both and for all that you do in our community. And from Beacon, I'm pleased to turn this program over to our moderator this morning, Reverend Forrest Gilmore, who will introduce our guests and lead the conversation. So as we get started here, please again introduce yourself in the chat box. Make sure it's saying that it's to all panelists and attendees so everyone can see you. And if you have any questions for our panel, please put them in the Q&A. We'll try to get to them all. So once again, thank you so much for taking time this morning to wake up with United Way and to join this conversation regarding this very important topic. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. I unfortunately, due to technical difficulties, seem not to be able to turn my video on. So I'm going to have to
try it again, Forrest. Try it one more time.
Okay. There we go. Very good. Excellent. So good to be with you all. I'm really excited to be here with you all this morning and give the opportunity to lift up some voices of people who have experienced homelessness or are currently experiencing homelessness. Let's just kind of jump right in there. So I wanted to start with our two panelists. We have two that are struggling with getting in this morning, so we may see them come in a little bit later. But let's start with our two panelists and give them a chance to introduce themselves. So Ernie, would you just kind of introduce yourself, say a little bit about just what tell everybody your name, maybe a little bit about your current housing status, how long you've been homeless, that kind of thing. And yeah, why don't we start with that?
My name is Ernest Brewster, and I've been homeless for quite a while, but I'm dealing with it and glad I got the job. That really makes it better, because without this, I guess I don't know.
Thanks, Ernie. And Katrina, how about you? Just a little introduction and your kind of brief journey with homelessness, your current housing status, that kind of thing.
Good morning, everybody. I am Katrina Sanders. I've moved to Bloomington in 2010. So since about 2011 up until September of last year, I was in and out of being homeless, bouncing from friends' houses. I was married. I ended up having children while being homeless. Forrest is amazing. If it wasn't for him and all the times he has helped, I probably would not have kept a job throughout the entire time. I've had multiple jobs, yes, but I've also had stable jobs for multiple years at a time. Currently, I am in a apartment. I take care of my mother and my stepfather, and I have full custody of both my kids. So I do have stable housing right now. Living situation is not ideal because I'm turned the garage of my apartment into my bedroom, but it's better than being on the street at this point during this pandemic.
Yeah. Thanks, Katrina. So one of the things I wanted to ask is kind of, I think sometimes it's very easy for people to see other people only for their housing status and not see people for things beyond that. So I'm wondering if you could share something about you that that you find that's kind of makes you unique, or something that's special to you, like a hobby you like, or a favorite musician, or something, that just kind of makes you you. Ernie, why don't we let you jump in first here?
Okay, well, since I've been here at the salon for a while, I've been liking it clean because I see everybody just messing around and throwing stuff around. So I've been cleaning the salon for a long time, but cleaning is one of my hobbies. So I like cleaning, and I just instantly took up the broom and started cleaning up and took over.
That's very true. Thanks, Ernie. I appreciate that. And Katrina, how about you?
Really depends. I do like fishing, and fishing, of course, is always relaxing. I even just bought my kids new fishing poles for the summer, so that way we can all go fishing as a family. And knowing that there's a lot of people that even are homeless that love to go fishing, that would probably be something that we could possibly get together with Forrest.
That's cool.
And see what we can do.
Did you grow up fishing as a kid?
Surprisingly, yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Do you
Creek
have any-
stomping as well. I grew up with, which I have not done in years, but I want to take the boys and take them out and do some creek stomping and find some crawdads and let them have fun this summer and let them actually be full blown boys to where they get muddy all over.
Nice. Nice. That's great. That sounds fantastic. One of the things that I think would be valuable for people to know is what the experience of homelessness is like. And so I'm wondering if you could share, just from your own kind of experience, something that you think was particularly difficult about being homeless, or something that you want people to know about being homeless, just something that having had that experience, or currently having that experience, you think it'd be valuable for other people to be aware of and know. Why don't we shake things up a little bit and have Katrina, why don't we have you go first here?
One of the hardest things about being when I was homeless was trying to get landlords to rent to me, because I didn't have rental history. I didn't have utilities in my name. And at the time, I did have felonies, but I got my record expunged because I had stayed out of trouble. And with a lot of homeless people having felonies or having a drug habit or anything of the sort, it makes it harder to find an apartment that you can afford, and to get a landlord to go, okay, hey, we'll rent to you, but we still need rental history. So you have to dig from 5-10 years ago, from when you were living wherever you were living at the time. And that may not be the case, to where that same landlord that you rented from before has that same apartment building or that same house. So it makes it that much harder to even try to find an apartment. And a lot of landlords want at least 3 years of rental history. And if you don't have at least 3 years of rental history, they tend to just throw your application to the side. And then when you do call, you get the runaround. Or then when you do call, they're like, oh, I'm sorry, we didn't accept you. You're not fit because of this, this, and this. And you get discouraged, you get depressed, you fall deeper into a state of mind to where like, okay, if this landlord's not going to do it and this one's not going to do it, how do I get myself out of this? And most people that are of sound mind and body, they figure out a way to get out of it, but it's not just that simple either. There's other issues that come into play when you're looking for housing. You have to have multiple forms of help, whether it be through the Shalom Center in New Forest or New Hope Family Shelter, or any other agency that can possibly help with that. There are multiple agencies that can help, but they can only do a certain amount of help, excuse me, of help to be able to get you into a place, and you still have to have a stable job. And if you don't have a stable job, then that makes it even harder because you have to have the first month's rent and the down deposit. And there are some places that will pay the first month's rent, but not the down deposit. I'm sorry, I want to address this real quick. Township trustee is available to help with first month's rent, but they do not help with the down deposit. There's only a certain amount of help they are willing to do. And with that being said, it takes a while to get the approval. It's 3 days to get the approval from the time you turn in the application. And as long as you have everything turned in within the first time of turning in the application, it does take 3 days, 3 business days, and that does not include the weekend. It's extremely rare to see nowadays people come up out of homelessness and be able to keep that stable housing, because a lot of landlords do like to raise the rent really quickly. Let's say your rent is $600 a month and they jump it another $100 to $700, but your budget only allows you to pay for a $600 a month apartment. They jump you up to $700. You're either A, going to fall behind, or B, you're going to have to take all of your money and put it towards rent and not be able to afford food, clothes, going to the laundromat if that happens. It definitely depends. And when I first became homeless, how did I know where to go? I luckily had made friends.
Sorry, I just want to stop you. So you guys are going to see some questions coming up in the chat, and I don't want you to feel obligated to respond to those. We'll get to those later, perhaps, okay. But let's we'll try and take questions from the group later on. But I don't want you to feel every time a chat question pops up, I don't want you to feel responsible to respond to those questions. We'll try and get to those in a bit.
Kevin.
Katrina, one of the things that I found, you talked about the obstacles you were experiencing about actually just even getting a place to rent. Mm-hmm. I'm really curious about what kept you going. Like what allowed you to keep going in the midst of all those challenges and struggles?
What kept me going was the simple fact that while I was staying at what is now called the Friend's Place, it used to be known as Martha's house. And I was in college full time. Yes, being homeless. I was working 40 hours a week. Yes, being homeless. And then I was married at the time as well. And while I was married, we found out I was pregnant with my first son. And once I found that out, sorry, the father of my kids is here helping with the boys. Once we found out that I was pregnant with my oldest, whose name is Centavious and 8 years old, that kept me pushing. That kept me and him both pushing to where we found out and realized we needed a place to live. We couldn't keep being homeless. We couldn't keep staying in the homeless shelter and not being able to afford what we needed to afford for our child. And throughout the years, my children have been what's kept me going. It's not stopped me from going or doing what I needed to do as a mother. Have I sacrificed a lot? Have I missed out on a lot? Yes, unfortunately I have. But those are sacrifices that had to have been made to get to a stable house, to get to a stable place, an environment for myself and my children. It's not easy, and it mentally tore me down, but at the same time, I still kept going because I needed to. As a mother, and also to prove to myself that I know I can get out of this situation. One way or another, I was going to get out of this situation.
Thank you, Katrina. I really appreciate your honesty here and your just direct sharing. That's really powerful. Ernie, so tell me a bit about, so going back to that original question, what's something about homelessness that you experience that some other people might know? What's particularly difficult about it, or something that you, having had that experience, other people might not know about, that you think people should know about what it's like to be homeless?
Ooh, it's real frustrating because you really ain't got nowhere to go and have proper rest. But I do rent out with someone, but it is nothing like having your own. That's the whole bottom thing. And showing everybody that you are capable of being what you're supposed to be. A man's supposed to have his own house, and a lady's supposed to have theirs if they want it. But just being a principle of it all. And I'm on a waiting list, and it's just sometimes frustrating because it fluctuates. I was closer to getting a place, and then they shot me back up. And it's just real frustrating. And then y'all introduced me to a program that you say y'all will start off paying the rent, but I end up paying it. But see, with the waiting list that I'm on, I'm starting off with a low income, and that way I can save my money. And it's just going to be that set period or a set amount of money that nothing time I'm there, instead of me starting off with nothing to pay and then end up having to pay $600 or $700 a month, or I really wouldn't know how much it would be. So I'm just frustrated.
Yeah, that's interesting. So Ernie, right now, how many hours a week do you work?
Luckily 40.
Yeah, and so paying $600 to $700 a month for rent would be a hardship.
Not really now, but I don't work 40 hours. You say y'all going to close the winter shelter here in a minute, so I was picking up hours there.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Exactly. So even as a person who's working, that struggling to meet rent can be a real challenge. Yeah. So you're still homeless, Ernie, right now, and so what kind of keeps you going through all of this? How do you stay strong and keep going?
I see people who get houses that I know be like, oh yeah, you got it, and maybe I can go over their house and stay. That's all.
So like having community and friends and family, and kind of, yeah.
They see me cleaning up after them all the time, so they know me.
Very nice. Very nice. One of the things that I think is unfortunately far too common is that people who are homeless are often judged pretty sometimes harshly and without kind of any consideration that people just discover or learn that you're homeless and for whatever reason or however, and then you might be treated in a way that's not in keeping with your own dignity and what you deserve and how you deserve to be treated. And I'm curious about what advice, I mean, there's a lot of people here today that are listening in to you all. I'm curious about what advice or what would you share with people who, perhaps a time when you experienced that indignity where someone didn't treat you so well because of your homelessness. What you think people should, how you think people should treat people who are homeless? How should people address them, approach them, talk to them, engage with people who are homeless? Ernie, why don't we start with you?
I know it's real frustrating because some of the people, it's I don't know. They got sense, but they act like I don't know. They act like I don't know. They just lost reality, and you be trying to talk to them sensibly and tell them, hey, it's get better, and maybe you do, but sometimes to see people and knowing that they could do better for themselves, and they don't.
Yeah. Has anybody treated you like that yourself? Like where I mean, you're obviously you're working and trying to do your best. Have you ever been treated like that, where someone kind of, didn't treat you?
Oh, yeah, lots of time, but I just move on and try to avoid the situation and hey,
Yeah.
get away from them.
Yeah. And what do you think how do you think people should treat people without homes that just, might, encounter people without homes? What advice would you give to people listening in?
Well, we really just gotta focus on them and contact with them and see how their mental health is. Because some people you can't really get to.
Uh-huh.
You could talk to.
Yeah.
You got to really be able to good judge of character when you're talking to people.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So treat people by their character, maybe then by.
You have to have a good judge of character, because once you talk to them and the way they react to you, you can know right then and there.
Yeah. Great. Thanks, Ernie. Katrina, how about you? What's I don't know if you have an experience where someone treated you poorly because of being homeless, but if you want to share something like that, if you've got a story like that, but also just, what advice you would give to people about how to treat people who have been experiencing homelessness.
I've not necessarily per se been looked at differently for being homeless. Maybe because I didn't let too many people know that I was struggling, or the simple fact that I had too much pride in not wanting people to know that I didn't want them to know. It definitely comes into a factor for anybody that is homeless, whether it be from a drug issue, a mental health issue, or even just regular homelessness. A lot of people have too much pride to ask for help or to even let people know, hey, look, I'm struggling. This is the help I need. This is the help I want to get me back on my feet and to start all over. And that takes a lot to even admit, hey, look, I'm struggling, man. Can you help? And if you have too much pride, it definitely can play a part in not finding the right ways to get the help you need, whether it be for mental or to get off the drugs or even to get a place. It takes a lot. And like Ernie said, not necessarily judging, but walking up to just a random person that you see that's even at Seminary Square Park and sitting down and having a conversation can open up a whole new world and a whole new door to getting other people's opinions and foresights on what they see and what they know. Myself personally, I have seen it to where the homeless community, whether, like I said before, be on drugs or mental health or even just regular homelessness, from not having money to be able to afford a place, they all get judged pretty badly. And it's not right nor fair. If you don't understand that they have mental health problems or drug abuse problems, you're going to judge them and be like, okay, that's not right. That's not right. This, and this. But it also comes down to where each person has to have a stable mindset to be able to want to get clean, to be able to want the help for their mental health, or even sucking up their pride to get the help they need to find a regular apartment that they can afford. It all comes down to knowing about the situation a lot more and being on the streets more to understand that there's more than just people losing housing and not being able to afford housing. It's more to homelessness than just that. It takes a toll whether you were abused as a child, when you were introduced to drugs, when you were introduced to alcohol. And a lot of women that are homeless have a past of being sexually abused. There's also that a lot of people don't want to address those issues on why people are homeless. And that takes part in mental health issues, which leads to drug habits, which leads to alcoholism. And that is a very touchy subject that a lot of people don't like to touch on. And in my opinion, that's one of the ways to start touching on homelessness. Find out people's mental health stability. How far back did their problems start with actual having these issues to cause mental health issues, to become homeless and to stay homeless? Because there are a lot of people that are homeless that have been homeless for 20 years, and they'd rather stay homeless than get into a place because that's all that they have known for 20 years. There's multiple stages of being homeless. And once you reach a certain point, a lot of people that have been homeless for 20 plus years are like, I don't see a point in getting an apartment when I can live without having to pay bills, without having to pay rent. No, it's not the type of lifestyle most people want or dreamed of having, but it's what they're now used to after 20 plus years.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Katrina. I wonder if you all would be willing to share a bit about what were the things that actually led up to you being homeless. What were the situations that, I mean, and you can share as much or as little as you feel comfortable about, but how did you end up in that situation? And what were kind of the factors that made it difficult for you to stay in a home way back when?
Well, I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, go ahead, Ernie. Yeah, honesty's good.
Well, I was with my family, but then being a man, I cheated, and then it just broke up.
Uh-huh.
And I was homeless after that.
Yeah. Yeah, so you were with your family, and then the relationship ended, and that they stayed in a home, and you ended up leaving. Is that kind of how it happened?
Yeah.
Yeah. And how long ago was that, Ernie? It's okay. Sorry, you don't have to answer if you don't feel comfortable.
Okay. Yeah. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Ernie. I appreciate it.
I've been homeless since that point in time, been trying to find a place to stay, and it's been difficulty after that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm on the list, and now I'm on the waiting list, and so hopefully it'll get better. And then y'all offer me some place. I'm really skeptical, but I'm gonna jump into something real soon.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Yeah. Katrina, how about your kind of experience of how it started for you and yeah.
I got mixed up with the wrong people. I trusted the wrong people and landed myself in jail.
Mm-hmm.
Caught felonies, and when I got out of jail, I didn't have a place to go, no place to lay my head. Mistakes were made, but I paid my 2 years on probation, my 6 months in jail, finished probation successfully, did everything I needed to do successfully. And it took me 6 months after being out of jail to find a job. And I kept that job for 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And throughout that 2.5 years, I had 2 places, 2 living situations that were 2 completely different situations. And it definitely was not easy. It was not. It was a struggle every day. It was a fight every day. And knowing that at the homeless shelters, you have to be out of the homeless shelters by 7:30 in the morning every day and not be able to go back to the shelters. So 5, 6, maybe sometimes 7 o'clock at night. You're out all day and you work all day. Let's say you work at 8 a.m. to 3 o'clock or 8 a.m. to 5, and you want to go back and relax. You can't do that living in a homeless shelter. You have to wait until you're allowed to be let back in the shelter. And it's a struggle. It really is. takes a toll on you. It makes you age a lot quicker than what you want to. And luckily I got my head out of my butt, no pun intended, but it kicked me into high gear, realizing that I need to pay more attention of who I'm around, who I'm not around, who I trust and who I don't trust. And it takes a lot to build that aspect of trusting people again once you get into a situation that you can't get yourself out of. You either A, have to pay the consequences, or B, there really is no B. You just basically have to pay the consequences and deal with what happens after that situation.
Do you feel like, for lack of better words, the criminal justice system was helpful in you getting back on your feet, or was, you know, or did it make it harder or easier, or was it, you know,
For
in theory,
me,
the criminal justice system is supposed to help, you know, us get better and improve our lives, and I'm curious about your experience about whether that was true, or whether you had a different experience of that.
now mind you, when I say this, every person takes incarceration differently.
Yeah.
Some can handle it, some cannot. I was not one of those that could handle incarceration. It was the first time I'd ever been put in jail, ever, especially even as an adult. And that 6 months that I had to sit in jail took a massive toll on my mental, and it did not do me any justice. It wasn't easy. You have to mentally have the mental stability to be able to deal with jail. And it's not, if no one's ever been even inside of a drunk tank, it definitely is not for the faint-hearted. It definitely is not. The 6 months that I was in jail, it took a toll. All I did was cry and read books, because I was not the type of person that went to jail. I was not mentally prepared for how it was and how I got treated. And it definitely opened my eyes to realize that's not the type of path I want to go down for my life. That's not where I wanted to be or needed to be. And as I was leaving, when I finally got released on my 6 months, after doing 6 months, I told the jailers I would never be back. And it has been, since I got my record expunged, it has honestly been 10 years. And I refuse to ever go back to jail. That's not me. And I stand by what I said. I will never be back to jail, and I have not been, and I refuse to go back even now. I refuse to. It's not for me. It's not who I am. And I've changed my entire life around. I actually, come May 1st, am starting a whole new job. And it'll benefit me and my children, but it's not for the faint of heart. The justice system has its massive flaws, but with those flaws also comes trying to figure out how to rectify those flaws. And that's going to take time and years.
Thank you for that honesty. I really appreciate that, and I can see that it was very clearly a painful time, and I appreciate you being willing to actually even share anything about that story with us. That's very generous of you. Thank you, Katrina. One of the things I think it's really important, again, a lot of people are listening here I think I'm looking at the participant number, and it's about 64 people. So a really good number of people that are listening in, no pressure. One of the things I think, again, a lot of people are tuning in because they specifically want to hear from people without homes, and they want to hear their experience, and they want to hear their story. And I think one of the things that's really important is hearing from you in terms of what could be done better. Like, what can we do better as a community to help people in the situation of homelessness? There's a lot of caring people, a lot of trying to do a lot of good in this community, and And we also know that a lot of that it's not enough and hasn't been enough. So I'm curious what your thoughts are about some of the things that you think our community can do better in terms of helping people when they're struggling with homelessness. Katrina, why don't you? Okay, yeah, if you're ready, Ernie, go for it.
Now, if y'all gonna close down a winter shelter, what they gonna do for the people that's in there now?
Yeah, right. Yeah, so that's one of the challenges right now is maybe not enough shelter for people. Is that what you're?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, would they get housing, or they just gonna be back out on the streets, or how would that go?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that is a challenge. Yeah. So if some people, it's going to be that same situation if once the winter shelter closes, that people some who would normally be moving into housing anyway, may be moving in, but some may end up back sleeping on the streets. Yeah. What other things, Ernie? Are there other things you wanted to add about what the community can do better? What are things that are, that we as a community can do better to support people?
I don't know. Y'all could leave it open for a little while, but I don't know. It's up to y'all, the workers y'all got working there. I don't know.
Yeah.
But if they're gonna be homeless, you already got a place for them. Ain't no sense in letting them be back out in the streets.
Sure.
But that's gonna really be putting them right back around this building.
Yeah.
All the times of the night, so you can have them over there and I can clean up over there.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Ernie. How about you, Katrina? What are some things you think would that we as a community don't do so well and could do better, or in supporting people when they're homeless?
Well, I work at what is now called the Best Value Inn, which was used to be known as Days Inn. And as we know, the owner of the Best Value Inn has helped put a lot of the homeless community into his hotel. And to be honest, a lot of the people that were put in the hotel has ripped the toilets out of the floor, has stolen toilet seat, has broken pictures, has left needles in the room. There's a lot more that they did at that hotel than anything else. Some of them that were staying there were not problems at all. They actually wanted to get out of the situation they were in. They were thankful that they were able to be put in a place to avoid a lot of the cold weather and avoid the rainy weather at that. And we're thankful. They showed their appreciation. They would come up to the front desk of the hotel and be like, hey, we're grateful that you guys are even letting us stay here. We're thankful. And if we can find a way to better help the drug addiction situation in Bloomington, that might start a better understanding of what caused them to use the first time and why they still continue to use to this day. Some may be chasing that first high that they felt the very first time they got high. Some may be doing it to get rid of and not deal with their problems or deal with their mental health issues. It all depends really upon the person, and each person is different in their own ways. However, the aspect of being homeless in Bloomington, it's a struggle because there's a lot of people that don't want to go to the homeless shelters because you have to be sober from drugs and alcohol, and they can't do it. And when I say can't, I mean they physically can't, or it can physically make them ill. And for a lot of people, they don't want to deal with that illness. They don't want to deal with the side effects of becoming sober because the withdrawals are just as bad. And when you see people withdrawing even off of heroin, it's really bad. It's not something you want to see in person if you're a faint-hearted person. it breaks your heart. You feel for them, you really do. And then when you understand their backstory of what has happened to them from the time they were little on up to them being adults, you understand why they chose to do what they're doing. It's actually getting to know individuals aside from their alcoholism, aside from their drug habits. And there are some people that are alcoholics or even drug addicts that are actually really nice people. They just have had a bad hand dealt to them. They really have. And it's not easy for everyone to open up like myself and Ernest is to everybody that's here in this chat for fear of being judged upon our character, upon what we chose to do or have had gone through. A fear of being judged is one of amongst many issues for a lot of people. If people would stop looking at them as, oh, that's a drug addict, or oh, that's an alcoholic, and see them as human beings and people in general, that might change the whole attitude of people opening up and people being, hey, look, I need the help I need. Where can I start? And if someone approaches you that you clearly see as unstable mentally, then maybe you can get the right help for them. If you see that even on the streets, if you see someone at Seminary Square Park yelling at the top of their lungs to no one around them, just yelling, okay, they need help, but how can we go about getting them the proper help? That's when you start doing your research. That's when you start digging. And that's when you possibly even find you, Forrest. You're always at Shalom Center Monday mornings. Every Monday morning, you're normally there about what, 11? I think it is. Even if they approached you and talked to you about everything, then maybe they could ask you, hey, look, what can I do to help get this situation taken care of? Excuse me. I'll pick you up. I'll pick you up.
Thanks, Katrina. We'll come back to you when you get a chance, or
Thank
do
you.
you want to say, yeah, no problem.
Sorry, Forrest, it's my youngest.
Yeah, right on.
Say hi to Forrest.
Being a mom first. Hi.
All right, go. I'll see you.
All right. Let's see. So, Mark, just want to get a time check in terms of when you want me to turn it back over to you, or Frat, whomever I'm going to turn it over to close.
Yeah, we've got about 10 minutes.
Okay, great, thanks. So I'm going to jump into some of the questions here that are on the Q&A here. One of the first ones that came in real early on the chat actually was, how did you know, or did you know where to go for help when you first started dealing with homelessness? How did you find a place to go for help? Did you know where to go to help? How did that work out for you, Ernie?
Through the streets, everybody was talking about Martha's house, and then heck, it was my time to go there, so I shot to Martha's house.
So you heard on the street, kind of just word on the street was how?
Yeah, because being homeless, and they was like, well, you can go to Martha's house, and you know, if you pass the background check, they'll let you in, stuff like that. So. Yeah.
And did you have a lot of, how long did that take to get that word? Between when you were first, out? And...
Like she said, it took a while for me to really actually go.
Yeah, oh, that's okay.
I got into it with the person I was staying with at that time, then I just had to go.
Yeah.
So
I think you bring up something really important. So you kind of had an interim time, a period before when, you talked about your family in that situation, but it sounds like you were also staying with some people after that.
Friends to stay with, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's really interesting because a lot of people have that experience where they kind of use their family resources and friend resources first, and when those finally kind of
Wither out, you gotta
get
stand up
used,
on your
yeah, get used up, then so it's not always a direct line of I became homeless and then all of a sudden you're in a shelter. There's often a lot of in between there.
Yeah.
So Katrina, that was, I don't know if you heard that question, but just asking what allowed you to, how did you find out about services when you first started to deal with homelessness? What did you know at the time? What did you find out, or how did you figure out what resources were out there for you?
When I was released from jail, they actually gave me a packet of places I could go to, places I could find and figure out how to get that proper help I need. Get down. Sorry. It really depends on how willingness you are to dig and just say, hey, look, I know I don't know you. I know you don't know me. But do you know of any place that can help me find the resources I need to get back up on my feet, to become better than what I was? I was just released. And my stepmother and my dad were actually there the day I was released from jail to pick me up. And they had done a lot of digging around, a lot of searching as well to help me find the Shalom Center. And from there, the Shalom Center helped me get into Martha's house. But that was during the summer, or during the fall. But during the summer, there was a church on the north side off of 4546 bypass, Genesis Church, that was doing a summer homeless shelter. And that's where I started going at first. And after that, they said, well, try here. And then when I went there, it was like, oh, okay. There's multiple ways of finding out. All you have to do is ask. But once again, it comes back to people having pride and not wanting to ask. It takes a lot to suck up your pride and be like, hey, look, I need help. Where can I go to get this help?
Mm-hmm.
And with the Shalom Center being where it's at, it definitely helps because it's easily accessible. It's on the bus line. You can reach it by walking there. You can reach it by driving. Now, the parking's not great. Love you, Forrest, but the parking's not great.
No, it is not.
It would definitely benefit you and Shalom Center for more people to be able to help volunteer there, or even help come to you and talk to you about ideas and concerns for anything if you guys had a parking lot.
You're preaching now. That's good.
But it would definitely help and benefit everybody in the town, in Bloomington itself, if we knew to start off to be able to come talk to you, Forrest, or even go to the actual United Ways right there on the corner. And it definitely would help being able to know where the two main bases are. Everybody knows where IU is located at and what streets, from all the way from 3rd Street all the way to the 4546 bypass is how far IU reaches. And even a little bit further than that sometimes, depending on where their buildings are. Having safe havens for families would definitely help. New Hope Family Shelter was a blessing to me last year. They really were. But being able to have easy accessibility for that, it's complicated. They need more volunteers at New Hope Family Shelter, just like you guys need more volunteers at Shalom Center. Being able to open up your schedule and open up your mind to the entire situation of the homelessness community, for whatever reason, would be amazing. There are a lot of good people that are homeless, and got caught up in the wrong lifestyle that dragged them down for years. I know Ernest thanks to my ex-husband, and he's an amazing guy. He has a lot to say, and he having to be able to talk to him and knowing his personality, knowing what he's been through as well, makes you open your eyes to realize, oh my God, these are some amazing people that have an awesome story to tell, but they just don't know how to tell it. They don't know how or where to begin to tell it, or where or when to begin with the recovery to become better than what they are or where they're at. If we had a specific area, like the abandoned building that is right behind Seminary Square Kroger's, that is up for sale right now. If, let's say we can tear that down, that building for the community, put a fence up in there and let everybody that is homeless, that doesn't want to stay in homeless shelters, be there for a few months to where they're not, how shall I say this, to where they're not in the parks where a lot of people like to go, but at least they have some place they can go where you guys know exactly where they're at, where if you need to, you can administer a small clinic there if they don't have Medicaid or whatnot, because in all honesty, Medicaid is not easy to get. Insurance is not easy to pay for. It's expensive. And for those that don't have that type of money to be able to go to a hospital because they're racking up hospital bills because of this, that, and the other, having a specific designated spot for them to help them and be like, hey, look, we're here. We understand. We hear your outcry. We hear that you guys feel like we're not taking care of you. They'll respect that in the end more than just saying, hey, we're coming through, we're cleaning house, you guys need to find somewhere else to go. And without them actually having somewhere else to go, they're just gonna go right back behind y'all and do it again. And you guys, it's gonna be repeating the same cycle. It's breaking the cycle that's going to take a lot of work and a lot of patience and a lot of understanding from everybody to get to know where you're at.
Thanks, Katrina. I want to ask one last question, and then we're kind of coming to the end here. Try and ask this one relatively quickly. So, but we have another couple of minutes here, maybe 2 minutes here. In terms of like us moving forward as a community, it's really important for us to hear the voices of people with what we call lived experience, where people, you know, who have experienced homelessness. I haven't experienced a homelessness. A lot of people who are listening in have never experienced homelessness in this group. Some of them have, but many of them haven't. So we don't know or have the experience that you have. We don't have the wisdom that you have, the hard-fought wisdom that you had from living through the experience. How can we do better at making sure your voices are at the top of the list in terms of us listening to you, hearing your voices, hearing voices of other people experiencing homelessness? And again, I'll just give you a minute or two here because we got to come to an end here. Sorry to do this quickly, but maybe one thing that you think we can do better to make sure that voices such as yours are heard and if you will, centered, are kind of put out there and made to be as important as they are. Ernie, what do you think?
I just basically, since I don't really have a place to go, just start staying in my car and just adapt it to the situation. But after a while, they're gonna have tents back around everywhere, and it's just gonna be a mess around here.
Yeah. So what can we do to listen, to kind of bring people's voices in better so that people without homes are heard better?
Gave you the right, perfect answer. Give it a place where they can be and you know they're there. Like I said, the homeless shelter you got, just keep it open. Don't close it so soon.
Got it. Thanks, Ernie. Got it. And Katrina, about a minute here.
Listen to the community, not just the ones that live here year round. Listen to the homeless community. Pay attention to how they act and respond to you, or how they act and respond to certain situations. If you just listen, even with your eyes, you can listen, even with your ears, you can listen. If you understand what they're saying, then you'll get a better understanding of the people in general.
Well, that's great. Thank you, Katrina and Ernie. And I really appreciate both of you taking your time today to share. I know you have many other things that you could be doing other than being here, and many challenges and things and great things that you could be spending your time doing right now. And I just am so thankful for the time you've given, and also just want to thank Mark and Efrat and the United Way and all those involved in making this event today happen.
Goodness, Katrina and Ernest, I just want to thank you for sharing your beautiful souls with us. Truly, I've just been like sobbing over here, but inspired to do more and to do better. And I think everyone here in the audience is here because they were looking to learn, you know, from your wisdom and experience, and I'm sure shared that commitment. So thank you to you both. Forrest, thank you for, you know, being the eternal advocate and for facilitating this really insightful conversation. And we thank our sponsors. We thank all of you here today, and look for a follow-up email, which will have not only this conversation summarized, but some resources if you want to get involved further. So thanks again, and thanks for waking up with United Way today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.